Welcome to Afterlife Experiences. If our content intrigues you, don't forget to show your support by giving this video a thumbs up and joining our community of subscribers. Now let's dive right into today's NDE experience. As I lay in the hospital that day in March 2016, I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary, even though my life was strained and I was burdened. It was Holy Thursday, and my heart was already heavy with worry. My sister, just 2 years older than me, was going through a terrible struggle with breast cancer. The pain and sadness of watching her battle was wearing down our family, especially my parents. Seeing them suffer as they helplessly watched their daughter's decline only added to the weight I carried. In those days, I developed severe LPR, acid reflux that would burn up my throat as a result of all the stress. I was eating poorly, not caring much about what went into my body, just to numb the worry and pain. My doctor scheduled a scope to check my esophagus, wanting to see if I'd developed any ulcers. Since I was 46 and had never done one, he also recommended a colonoscopy. I thought, why not? It was about time. As I went through the bowel prep, I felt my body weakening. It was working far too well. I hadn't had enough water, and before I knew it, I was severely dehydrated. The nurse took her time getting the saline drip ready, and I remember lying there, feeling tired and thirsty. Finally, she placed the IV, but only a few minutes after that, my heart stopped. Just like that, I left this world and my body. Suddenly, I was somewhere else, outside of myself, moving through the wall to my left. I was in a room that felt familiar, yet I couldn't place where I was. It was dim, and I found myself sitting in a chair. I didn't feel afraid, just curious. Something else seemed to be in control, and it felt calm and sure. Behind me, a light or beam began to click on, and images flashed rapidly through my mind, almost like a slide projector. Each image, each memory seemed to pass through me, flooding my senses with sights, sounds, and emotions from different parts of my life. Then, as if directed by a higher force, the slideshow slowed down and focused on 4 distinct times I had shown kindness to others. These moments were vivid, filled with details, colors, and sensations. The first memory was from when I was 25. I was working at a warehouse and had just welcomed a new hire, a young guy who had taken a step back career-wise to join our team, hoping it would lead to something bigger. He was anxious, second-guessing his choice. I remembered standing beside him, the sharp smell of propane exhaust from his forklift filling the air as I encouraged him. I told him he had made the right move, that this job could open doors for him if he worked hard. Even though we were at the southwest corner of the warehouse, a place I'd seen countless times, it all felt vivid, like I was there again in that exact moment. I could feel his worry, see the uncertain look in his eyes, and sense the weight he carried. That young man, Bill, is still a friend of mine today. He went on to have a solid career in sales, and as I saw that memory, I understood in a way I hadn't before how much that moment had meant. The second moment was from a hot summer day when I was 9. I was with my neighbor, a kid around my age who was feeling pretty low. His parents worked constantly, leaving him with too much time alone, and he had been really down about it. It was the summer of '78, and the heat was relentless. I could see him clearly, wearing a yellow Chevy Love Truck tank top, his shoulders smeared with the banana-scented suntan lotion we used to protect ourselves from the sun. I could even smell it, along with the sun-baked scent of grass. That summer day was bathed in colors that seemed impossibly bright, almost like they glowed. I was encouraging him, listening, letting him know he wasn't alone. That memory warmed my heart in ways I couldn't put into words. Then the slideshow shifted to when I was 6, in the 1st grade, and met Mark, who would later become my best friend. He was the new kid in school, and anyone who's ever been the new kid knows it's tough. I remembered reaching out to him, making him feel welcome on the playground of our grade school. I saw the familiar swings, the slides, the laughing kids around us, and somehow, in this moment, I could feel his nervousness, his need for acceptance. I welcomed him, made him laugh, and from that moment on, he was my best friend. 22 years later, he stood beside me as my best man at my wedding. The memory felt like it was happening in real time, as if I could reach out and touch him. Finally, I was shown a memory from my college days, where I was a sophomore talking to a struggling freshman. He was different, socially awkward, and having a hard time adjusting. College was a challenge for him, and he didn't know if he could stick it out. I saw us standing in his dorm room on a Friday night, me trying to convince him to keep going, to not give up on himself. I felt his hesitation, his doubt, but I also felt his determination grow as I encouraged him. This man, who years later earned a graduate degree from Cornell, had kept going partly because of that conversation. Each of these memories showed me something I hadn't fully seen before. They were so vivid, so alive with emotion and senses, that it was like living them all over again. I could feel the warm sun of that summer day, the nervousness of a new friendship, the faint scent of propane in the warehouse, the quiet weight of someone's doubt in a dorm room. These memories revealed something deeper, a pattern of kindness that I hadn't realized had shaped my life and, in some way, impacted others. Then, just as quickly, I heard the nurse's voice pulling me back. "Mike, Mike, Mike!" she was calling, desperate. I felt myself moving back through the wall to my right, back toward my body. I couldn't see her, but I could feel the urgency, the pull back into the world. Just before I returned, a gentle, loving presence behind me spoke. It wasn't loud, but I heard it clearly. It said simply, "More of this." When my eyes opened, I felt a rush of joy like I'd never known. It was a euphoria, a peace that seemed to fill every part of me. I wanted to laugh, to shout out that I was alive, to jump up and tell everyone in the room that everything was perfect. But as I looked around, I saw the concern on their faces. My wife was there, eyes red and filled with tears, holding on to me like she'd nearly lost me. The nurse looked exhausted, drained from what must have been an intense effort to bring me back. The IV had been torn out in the rush, and I was back, but somehow I knew I'd been changed forever. They transferred me to the ICU at Blanchard Valley Hospital in Findlay, Ohio. I was still dehydrated, still without a saline drip, but it didn't matter. I felt like I was running on something greater, an energy beyond this world. Pure, unconditional love was flowing through me, filling every inch of my being, and it carried me through those hours with a sense of peace and purpose. It wasn't long after I'd settled into the ICU that I heard someone being wheeled in next to me, a woman who'd been in a car accident. She had come in by helicopter, but something in me already knew her spirit was gone. There was a stillness around her, a sort of final silence, and though the doctors worked hard, her soul was already somewhere else. Finally, they managed to get the fluids going into my own body. I could feel myself coming back to normal, as if life was returning bit by bit. It took 3 whole bags before I felt anything shift inside. Eventually, I felt the first urge to relieve myself, and even that felt like a victory, proof that I was back in this world. They kept me overnight, running countless tests, and I could sense the medical staff around me were puzzled, looking for an answer to something they couldn't quite find. I was starving through it all, just craving real food. That next week, after a strangely beautiful Easter Sunday, I went back to work as if life could just carry on. I didn't tell my wife right away. The experience felt too big, too unreal to share just yet. For months, I kept it to myself, letting it settle in my mind. Then in December, we lost my sister. The cancer finally spread to her brain. My parents were devastated, and it broke my heart to watch them grieve. My brother-in-law and nieces, though, seemed to find a quiet calm. They had witnessed the long battle, the pain and struggle, and they seemed to have found peace knowing Chris was now free, in a place of rest. I knew it too, in my heart. After what I'd experienced, I had no doubt she was in a better place. Reflecting on it all, even now, is one of the hardest things. There's a clarity in the next world, a truth that's almost blinding, but coming back here and trying to reconcile it with the way things are in this world, that's the struggle. Here, it's all backward. We often see lies paraded as truth and real truth hidden or dismissed. Kindness sometimes seems punished while cruelty is rewarded. It makes you feel that this world is strange, almost surreal, compared to what I glimpsed on the other side. That world was full of light, love, and honesty, so different from here. I no longer believe that heaven is up above. It's depicted that way because our souls feel as if they rise, leaving behind these heavy, aching bodies. After that experience, I even started feeling disconnected from my own body. I've lost around 20 pounds since then and find myself almost resenting it, as if it's just an anchor holding me down. But I know, too, that it's my vessel in this world, and I have to care for it, even when it feels burdensome. In the days that followed, I kept thinking about the presence I felt during my experience. At first, I thought it was the Holy Spirit. Maybe it was my Catholic upbringing. But the more I thought about it, the more I felt it was something else. Maybe it was an angel, a messenger of sorts. It felt younger, almost awkward, like it was aware of the time limit and had to make its point quickly. It was there to tell me something simple yet profound, the importance of encouraging others. That little bit of kindness could truly change someone's world, and I understood that now. Surrounded by such skilled medical staff, I don't think it was ever my day to die. Later, when the nurse came in to check on me, she asked if my chest hurt. I said no and asked why. She looked surprised and said she'd given me intense CPR, expecting to break a rib or two. I could see she was relieved, but in that moment, I felt something else. I was on top of the world, full of a joy and peace that stayed with me for days after. As time has passed, my experience continues to deepen in meaning. It's like a well I can draw from, and I go back to it whenever life gets overwhelming. I don't fear death anymore, not even a little. When that day comes, I know we all return to the same place, where wealth, status, and position mean nothing. None of that follows us. But what does stay with us, what I believe we carry, are the memories of sight, sound, and scent. Those sensory moments have a life beyond this one, so I try to fill my life with them now. Music plays almost constantly around me, filling the air with something beautiful and real. The year after my sister's passing was a hard one for my wife and me. We went through a storm, something that tested every part of us. Yet I believe my sister visited me, warned me somehow, guiding me through it. My wife and I came out the other side, bonded even stronger than before. I don't know if our marriage would have survived that year without the wisdom my near-death experience brought me, along with those visits from my sister. Looking back, I see how everything connected. I was changed by it all, and the lessons from that other world still guide me every day.